was in the ninth standard in Bangalore, studying in one of the finest residential schools of India. She was in the 12th standard. Our head girl, a promising science student aiming to become a doctor, an ace tennis player, and a bewitching speaker. She was every bit of the phenomenal student I could only aspire to be. It did not help that she was elegantly beautiful as well. Naturally, the teacher's favorite and our school's pride, Nishtha Nayak. My affection for Nishtha bordered on the edge of inspiration and role model, occasionally spilling over to teenage infatuation. It was while exiting the library that I once saw her, sitting by herself, making notes. Somehow, I gathered the courage to walk up to her and said, "Hello, I think you are the coolest person ever." Nishtha looked up with a beaming smile. Indicating me to sit, she said, "Well, that's a big compliment. Thank you. May I know why you think so?" "Well, you are good in studies, in sports, you are a head girl. Also, everybody happens to like you a lot." Well, those are some good reasons you said. Now, at this point, I wanted to sound really matured in the hopes of striking chords with her. So I said, "Your parents must be so proud of you." "Well, I hope they are. I would be really disappointed otherwise." "Why? Don't they tell you?" "Well, they can't. They left me years back to move in with God." All my efforts to sound matured vanished in thin air. I had no words to say. Nishtha was brought up by her grandparents. She had never seen her father or mother. To me, at the age of 15, the idea of having never seen your parents was hard to grasp. And something like that to happen to such a beautiful soul was unfathomable. It is said that to reread a book is to read a different book. The reader is different. The meaning is different. This one incident gave me 3 different meanings in my life. The first meaning, that day, a 15-year-old boy realized that it is the moment when no one is watching you that reflects your true character. Every kid or every man strives to be their best under the gaze of a guardian or a supervisor. But to do so when no one is watching you, that is something extraordinary to a 15-year-old. The second meaning, years later, Facebook became a rage. Everybody was opening an account and adding people. Soon enough, I joined the herd too. As I began adding people from my school, soon enough, Facebook showed me Nishtha Nayak in the People You May Know section. Instinctively, I stalked her profile. It had pictures of her graduating from the finest university in UK, traveling, celebrating, looking as happy as people in all our Facebook feed appear to be. To most people, it would appear that God had been biased in blessing her with all the happiness of the world. But the 15-year-old in me knew the gaping hole in her life. I realized that Facebook is a very poor barometer to judge people's happiness. You look at people's happy faces and curse your own bad luck, all the while unknown to the demons they are fighting in their personal lives. Gratitude as a quality is fast depleting, thanks to the false notion that Facebook creates about other people's lives in our mind. The final meaning. Last year, I happened to travel to Bombay, where I visited a relative's house. They had a small kid, about 9-year-old. Suddenly, he pulled me aside and said in the most innocent voice, "You are so lucky." I smiled and, confused, asked him why. He said, "My mommy says you have a very good degree and you are very fair and you can travel alone." The kid transported me back to that scene in the library with Nishtha. Even the idea of drawing a parallel to Nishtha Nayak caused my head to hang in embarrassment. I realized that no matter how you are doing in your life, someone somewhere is idolizing you. It is not just the superstars, the celebrities, sports stars, Bollywood stars whom people look up to for their motivation. No. Unknown to you, someone somewhere is looking up to you for their source of inspiration. They may not know the problems you face or have the solutions for them, but they look up to you as their source of inspiration. And to them, you are a superman. Just like Nishtha Nayak is still the superman for the 15-year-old in me. Over to you, Toastmaster.